Hi, and a big welcome to our art video. My name is Anne Kinahan and I'm one half of DrinK in the Hand Art. Pete is the other half and he'll be doing the production on the video. This video is the third in a series about figures, and today we're going to try and about not just about figures but about how to paint them very simply but with some effect. And so this one is the most, we're going to attempt the most complex in the series and do a bit more of a complicated figure on more of a complicated background, but still make it very simple. So we're going to attempt something like this one. So for this, I have a couple of boards, and I often attempt paintings on two boards so that I'm not too worried about either one. These are just little boards with a hard edge around, so they're called cradled boards, and I've put gesso on them, and I've mixed a bit of orange paint with the gesso just so that there's something already on there. I've got some pencils in here and some oil pastels in this box, so that I can start off with a scribble so that I'm not quite so nervous about what I'm doing. I've got some water here and my kitchen towel, and I've just put out a mixture of paints. So on my palette, which is the tracing paper on a bit of wet kitchen towel, I've put out some acrylic paints and just a mixture of colours, just any old thing, but including white and black. Now I'm just going to get some brushes and I think a palette knife. I'll just pop those in there ready for using. And then in addition, I've just been outside to the garden and I've just picked up a few little gravel stones. It could have been anything. It could have been twigs or sticks or leaves, but I've just picked up a few gravel stones to use for the background effect. I'm guessing that this video will probably be in more than one part, probably two parts. And anyway, but we'll see how we get on, so that we can let the background, the idea will be that we can let the background dry before we put the figure on top. So let's get started, and I'm going to start just with these pencils. They're probably not very sharp or anything. Here are, this is a 2B one, and I'm literally going to scribble. And this is just to relax me. But also some of these marks will show through later on in the painting, I expect. I could use, I'm normally left-handed, but what I could do is just use my right hand to get more interesting marks. There. Now I could do the same, I think, with maybe with the pastels. Let's get that. It doesn't matter what colour. So again, I'll use the hand that I don't normally use. And I'm not giving any thought at all to how this looks. It just doesn't matter. Maybe some green. Now I know the thing that oil pastels do is that they tend not to rub off when you put paint over them, but they can affect what the paint does on top of it. So the paint will kind of move away from the acrylic paint will move away from the oil. But again, because this picture here has you know, a very loose background, I think that's not going to matter at all. I don't think, the idea is that we're not painting very precisely. Now I'm going to start with, I think, a mixture of maybe I'm going to do some black and then some warm colours. So I'm saying that, is that right? Yes. Okay, so we'll start with some, I'm going to use a medium-sized flat brush, this sort of size. And I'm going to, let's just put some red on. Again, I'm not expecting this to show very much in the finished painting, so it doesn't matter too much what I do with it. The idea is just to keep nice and loose and have some fun. Put some on this one as well. And you can see that some of the pastel and the pencil lines are showing through, which I think is what we want at this stage. Maybe I'll try other warm colours. I'm going to put some black on. Black is really good as a background colour. Just make sure this is black. Yes, it is black. And always will give your painting some depth when you put the other colours on top of it. When you just be able to see bits of it through. But even with the black, you can see that some of the pastel is forcing the paint apart and is showing through. Let's see what other things I could do in these. What about using some of this? So this is more of a purpley pink. Could maybe try and do more shapes. I could now see if while it's wet, make some lines through the. This is just with the end of a paintbrush. Again, nothing special. What other colour could I use? Some of this. I can hear a bird singing outside the window, a great tit. I saw that the other day that a little blue tit is trying to nest in a hole in the wall right next to our front door handle. There. So it should just look like a mess, and it does. I might just put in a few dashes of, look, very bright pink. So essentially what I've done is gone for warm colours and black to get me started. So now I'm going to just let that dry and come back and have a think about the next layer, because essentially with this background I am just building up layers, and I want to make sure that each layer is dry before I put the next lot of paint on, to stop it all turning into a muddy mess. Right, so I'll be back. I'm going to make myself another cup of tea and change my water, and I'll be back. Hi, welcome back. During my break then, I made myself another cup of tea, changed my water, which I probably wouldn't have got round to if I wasn't trying to record a video and look a bit more proper. And I did actually cheat a little bit. This dried very quickly, but I could see it was still coming off on my hands. So I used a hairdryer just to finish it off. That took maybe 3 minutes, you know, no time at all. Our hairdryer has to do for my hair. I have 3 horses as well. We dry their hair with it, and we also use the same hairdryer for our for our paintings. So it has to work for its living, and we've also had it probably about 15 years. Anyway, now we're going to carry on in our mission to try and produce something like this. So for the next bit, instead of using the warm colours, I'm going to try and put some cooler colours on top. I might have a little scribble first of all again with the oil pastels. Let's try that. I could maybe try some bright green. Again, this really won't matter. Maybe some yellow. Oh yeah, the yellow shows up on it quite well. Maybe a bit of red. And I think I am quite pleased with the way the original pastel marks are showing through the paint. Trying a bit of purple here now. I must say I use my oil pastels an awful lot just for this kind of stuff, and it just gives me something to do when I don't know what to do next. And you do see some of the effects in the finished paintings. Right, now I'm going to pick up some paint, and I think I'm going to start putting it on with a small palette knife. So this is my smallest palette knife. I'll get it a little bit cleaner. And I'm going to start with maybe a darkish green and just try scraping some over the red in parts. I think the woman I'm trying to create, I've decided it looks like she's in some kind of Chinese or Japanese garden, standing maybe at the water's edge, but that's a very loose interpretation, and of course it could be anything. There's a bit of green, some maybe on this one as well. Now I'm going to put a much brighter green. Try some different effects with the palette knife. I'm not very good at using a palette knife. I don't really know what you're meant to do, but I suppose you can do anything. Maybe I do like this green. It shows up very sort of brightly on top of other colours, so it's quite strong. I don't like it when paintings get too dark. So this time the paint is a bit thicker, and I'm leaving it a bit thicker. Maybe I'll mix some of the two greens through now. I thought I'd try and look a bit smarter in these videos, and I bought myself a new clean red apron in the hope that I'd just look a bit more presentable. But so anyway, we'll see how long that lasts. Now I still might put a little bit more black or dark blue on. Is it dark blue? Oh yeah. What else? What about some few touches of a lighter blue? Not sure about this. This might not be the right thing to do. So my thinking was originally to have, you know, a layer of warm colours and then to go with a layer of cooler colours. Let's try a little bit of French ultramarine. The thing with acrylic paint is that you never really have to worry, because if you decide you don't like something, you can always go over it. You can either let it dry and then go over it, or you can paint some white over what you've done and then paint over the white, and that will be a way of getting the new colour to show up. You can't always just paint straight over another wet colour and expect it to stay nice and bright. You do sometimes have to put some white on first. Right. Well, that's given a bit of texture where the bright green is. And let's, oh, I know what I'm going to get. I'm just going to get a torn up credit card. I just suddenly thought that you can actually get quite a good effect with a credit card if you put some thicker paint on. It might be too late now with this. Oh no, look, there we go. You can just put a line through any paint that you've been doing to give an up and down effect, or obviously a horizontal effect if you want. Just to introduce a bit of variety. And you can split that up again. So what all we're trying to do is make an interesting background. Now we come to our pebbles. So the little pebbles I picked up from out in the garden. I'm just going to reach my palette and the orange paint. And this is where we get very messy. So I've got my pebbles here. Try to make sure my hands are fairly clean. And I'm going to drop my pebbles into the orange paint and roll them around a bit. Obviously, if you don't like getting this messy with your hands, you could put plastic rubber gloves on, latex gloves on to protect your hands. And we're going to see what this looks like when I just roll it over what I've done already. Trying to make sure they don't just push along the board, but that they do actually roll over. That seems to give a better effect. And I'm hoping you can see it looks quite good where the background is dark, where what we're doing is rolling them over the dark blue or black. My hands are so mucky, I can hardly look typing. I'm hoping next week to see some of my grandchildren, and I'm wondering whether this is the kind of thing they might like to do. can never tell. You could see how badly wrong it could go once they start throwing these things around. But I'm quite pleased with the effect. It's quite different on both of them. Whoops. That's gone a bit messy. I think the key is to keep them rolling around. But you see how you could just, if you had leaves or twigs, you could be making a completely different effect. I'm going to try and get rid of these now. And I think I'll pop these in the sink. And I think what we'll do now is take another break so that this can dry off and I can wash my hands, change my water again, and perhaps have another cup of tea. And then when this is dry, and this will probably now be part 2 of the video, or the second part of the video, then I'll come back and we'll pop the figure on and see if we can produce a finished painting.